All right, we're hydrated. We're ready to go. Listen, most producers think you have to go viral or rack up millions of streams to make money with your music, but that's just not true. There's a whole world of producers quietly making consistent income without a fan base or without even having clients who are artists. So, in this video, I'll show you exactly how they're doing it through something called sync licensing. Now, for years, I was producing music and I was all over the place. I had no direction. I was pitching music for major artists, producing music for indie artists, trying to do beat stores, sales, and all of that stuff. But I just wasn't seeing the return that I wanted to see, especially in terms of the time spent working on this music. Then I discovered sync licensing, and it completely changed how I looked at music as a business. All right. So if you're brand new to sync licensing and you want to understand exactly how to get started, comment the word free guide. I'll shoot you my sync producer quick start guide, completely free. It'll walk you through what to do in like less than 10 steps. All right. So point number one is you don't need fame. You need placement ready music. Let's talk about what placement ready music is. Now, when you're producing music for sync or TV and film, or even video games, ads, whatever, anything that has picture, you are producing music that is functional, music that editors can use and, chop up and place it to picture so that they can pretty much tell a story. And your music helps tell that story by having a certain emotion, a certain message, a certain theme. So when I'm producing music for, let's say, Fox Sports, right? Fox Sports has a certain vibe, a certain energy. It's competitive, it's edgy, it's gritty. Usually it's up tempo. Like I have yet to hear some R&B ballad on Fox Sports, right? So it's like high energy, high impact, a lot of hits, hard hitting drums and things like that. You may even hear some blended genres of like some country hip hop, some rock and hip hop, all types of different things, high energy, because that's what they're trying to convey. That is what's happening, when you're watching sports, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, college football, golf, you hear a few different things in golf, but it's the same. Like there's a mission, there's a theme. They want music to match that because it brings everything together. So if you can master creating placement ready music, right? So this is music that doesn't have a long intro. This is music that builds, it stays interesting. It's just not repetitive for like an entire 2 minutes. You have clean edit points. You have, catchy melodies, catchy hooks, catchy lyrics. You have broad, open lyrics that aren't too specific to where it can be used for a wide variety of themes and scenarios and things like that. Then you can start to see momentum and see more placements and more signings because you've mastered that. You've mastered creating placement ready music. Now, sync licensing rewards strategy, not luck. This isn't something where you're just like, hey, let me take 15 tracks off of my hard drive and just toss them to a publisher, and then they magically get placed, and then BMI is cutting me a check, or CSAC or ASCAP is cutting me a check every quarter because I'm getting sync placements. It does not work that way. And a lot of times producers try and do that. They think, oh, all I need is the contact. All I need to know is who to send it to, and I'm good. And that is like the biggest mistake you can make, is thinking that you have it all figured out and you can just plop some music in somebody's email address and, things get placed. No, they can tell a mile away if you don't have any experience in this space, because things are presented a certain way, things are produced a certain way. And when you don't do that, 9 times out of 10, you get rejected. So you have to have a strategy. You have to have a system. You just can't wing it. You could wing it, but if you want consistent results, you should implement a consistent system. So a repetitive system equals repetitive results. All right. Now, consistency in catalog equals leverage in sync. So that goes back to having a repeatable process. If you have a repeatable process, you can get repeatable results. And if it's something that's repeatable, it's easier to stay consistent, right? So if you're winging it and you're just trying to get lucky, you don't know what's working. You're just sending anything. But if you have a format that you use when you produce music consistently, right? You're just following that format. The genre may change, but you're still sticking to this format that you know works because it has consistently gotten placed. And that's what I did. I just took my first placement that was on NFL Network. I said, oh, they like this. Let me follow this same structure. Let me follow this same energy, right? So then I started getting more placements. So I was like, oh, bet, like I'm going to double down on what's working, create a formula from it so that now I can consistently do this. So now my placement percentage in terms of, me pitching something and then it ultimately getting placed is way higher versus if I was just guessing and just like, here, I'm just creating whatever I feel like it and I'll just throw it to you. And then hopefully, something happens. No, I'm very intentional in how I create and what I create because I know that consistency and catalog equals leverage and sync. Prime example, my very, very first TV placement paid $600 in royalties just from like the one placement on, I think first it placed on NFL Network, but then ended up on Fox Sports and made like $600 in royalties. And that was like spending a few hours on that track. And I was just like, yo, if I could do that like times 10, that's an extra like $6,000 a year. Just from like one track working for me over and over. And I only had to do the work one time. So I was just like, yo, if I can really double down and be consistent and build a catalog of music that will work for me after I've only done the work one time, like the potential in this could be huge as a producer because I don't need to like stay up late in random studios and like waiting for artists to release music and waiting for labels to cut checks. Like I can literally create whenever I want, in like any city, wherever I want and anytime I want, like, and then just send it to the publishers and then they kind of take care of like a lot of the admin work. So my focus is really on just creating the best possible music that I can and then pitching it to them and then they take it from there. So I was just like, yo, if I double down on this could absolutely be a game changer. And it has been. I've been producing music for TV and film over the past decade. I've had my music placed on all types of shows, Nickelodeon, NFL, Slime Time, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Love is Blind Sweden, Love is Blind Germany, Love is Blind Brazil, a bunch of Love is Blind franchises, Love and Hip Hop, like all of the franchises on there, some A&E stuff, some CBS Sports, all types of stuff, NBC. So that's the power of consistency and, music that I've created like way back in like 2015 is still getting new placements. And every time something airs on TV, you get paid for it every single time. So it just starts to snowball due to that consistency. Now that you know what's possible, I want to show you exactly how I landed 7 placements on the same episode of a TV show and the lessons I learned. That's what I cover in this next video.